Okay, so today we have a really hopefully short video. I just want to show you how you're supposed to cite for your discussion section assignment and where and when you're supposed to cite. So let's get started. Here's the agenda. As I just said, we're going to first talk about how you cite for your discussion section assignment. Then we're going to talk about when you're supposed to cite as a whole. And then I want to introduce you to the concept of explanatory parentheticals. If you find yourself up against a word count, these could be your best friend, but only if they're appropriate and applicable to use. So when we talk about citation, the first thing you need to think about is how are you actually going to use the cases that you have? Well, you're going to use your cases for a rule. That would be in the roadmap section. You would use it for your background rules, for your governing rule, and for any helper rules you might have. You're also going to use it to support the rules in your subsections. So for the R of CREAC, you're also going to use cases for your explanation section. One, it's going to be used for an in-text illustration, which we call FHR, Facts Holding Rule. It's also going to be used, you can use a supporting parenthetical where you have a holding and facts that are easy to discuss. I'll teach you how to do that in a few minutes. And you're also going to use it in your A. You're going to use it when you mention the cases in your A. You're going to use it after you do your comparisons in the A. So for your discussion section, only for this assignment, as soon as this assignment is over and turned in, you're going to learn how to cite proper. But for this assignment only, let's talk about how you cite. So if you were talking about Post, here's the full cite of Post. Post v. Lumi, comma, 261 space, SO period space 2D space 146, comma, 148, which is where the material that we're looking for would be found, per space, parentheses, FLA, period space, 1972, close paren, period. That would be the full citation for Post. Remember, when you are citing, if you have emailed yourself copies of the case and you didn't copy the PDF of the original, but you're using the Westlaw or Lexis version, look in Lexis for the bracketed single asterisk number, or in Westlaw, just look for the asterisk number. Make sure you're not using the page from your printer or the bottom or top of the page that says Westlaw page 1. Don't use that. Once you figure out what page number you're citing to, for your discussion section, we want to keep it simple. So keeping it simple, the cite that you see above would be Post, comma, space, 148, period. So let me be really clear. For this discussion section, the name of the case is the first party of the case. It's followed by a comma immediately after. Then there is a space. Then there is the page number where the information is found, and that page number is followed by a period. The only time the page number is not followed by a period is if you have multiple cites for a synthesized rule, and then it would be followed by a semicolon. You would put the next cite, and the last cite would have a period. Hope that's clear. So when do you cite? You need to cite every fact, thought, or opinion that is not your own. Considering the majority of this should not be what you think, but should be what the court thinks, you should have a lot of citations in there. Do not worry about citing to the facts of your case right now. You will do that on your open memo, but for your closed memo, we're giving you a break and you don't have to give a cite for the facts of your case. But any thought or opinion that comes from another source or is influenced by another source needs to have a citation following it. This means you cite even if you're not giving a direct quote, even if you are just talking about the case, it still needs to be a citation. So here's some examples. You're going to cite when you give a general rule about the law. You're going to cite when you give synthesized rules. You're going to cite when you talk about the facts of another case. You're going to cite when you talk about the holding of another case. You're going to cite when you talk about the reasoning of another case. Anytime, and as a general rule to help you, if you are going to start a sentence saying the court found, the court said, the court held, you need a citation after that sentence every single time. So in your explanation section, you're going to use citations 3 different ways. One is you'll only have a citation, nothing else. 2, you'll have a full text explanation, again, the FHR. Or 3, you'll have a parenthetical explanation. Let's see what that looks like. If you go to page 10 of your sample memo, you will see this. The first sentence, foregoing an available opportunity is a detrimental change of position, is the hook concept or the hook for that paragraph. Note that the cite after it is just C and the case name and the page where the information is found. Next, they're going to the writer turned around and did an FHR for that case and said, in Acosta, a group of students claimed to have been induced to choose the defendant's college and reject offers from other universities based on the defendant's representations that the program costs would be within a certain range. Now you see a cite, Acosta, 232. That's just the facts. We're not talking about what the court said, but those are the facts from Acosta. The next sentence, while the majority in Acosta reached its decision on grounds unrelated to the injustice element, the dissent acknowledged the student's detrimental change of position as a result of rejecting the offers from other schools. And again, there's a cite to Acosta at 232. Note that you had 2 different sentences, both from page 232, both from Acosta, and both of those sentences had a cite following it. It is then followed by a parenthetical explanation. Parenthetical explanations are usually used to help support a position you had just talked about. So here you have see also JN auto collection, 257 to 58, space, finding that auto dealer relied to its detriment on misleading insurance coverage documents when it chose not to purchase other available insurance. So again, it's supporting the FHR that was there. So you go, oh, Professor Cleon, I'm getting really wordy. How do I use parenthetical explanations? Well, here's what helps you decide when to use a full text explanation and when to use a parenthetical explanation. First, you need to ask yourself, how important is the case in explaining the rule? If the case is really important, then you want to do a full FHR. Because, I hate to say it, when you are reading your case books for your other classes, how many times do you pay attention to the cases that are in parenthetical explanations? If it's just a case cite and then a parenthetical, are you reading that through? Or are you skipping over that and going to the next actual text? Most people will skip over the parenthetical explanation. So if this is an important case, if it is a case you are going to rely on in your A, then you need to give a full in-text illustration. Also ask yourself if you can describe the significance of the case to the point you're trying to make in a single sentence. If you can't, it has to be a full FHR or in-text illustration. If you can, then it's a candidate for a parenthetical explanation. So to write a parenthetical explanation, you need to provide the facts so that the reader knows what the case is about. You need to explain what happened in the context of the rule that's being discussed. And to format it, you begin the parenthetical with a lowercase letter. So you would have parenthetical, lowercase letter, or parentheses, lowercase letter. It must be limited to a single sentence. And you do not include ending punctuation within the closing parentheses. So for this assignment, for your discussion section assignment, it would be the case name, comma, space, the page number, space, the opening parenthetical. Now you give your explanation, you close the parenthetical, and there will be a period. Make sure when you're doing parentheticals or doing a parenthetical explanation or an explanatory parenthetical, that you start your parenthetical with a present participle. Those are words that end in ing. So holding, finding, reasoning, ruling, stating, concluding, noting, observing. Once you have given the present participle, then you are going to turn around and talk about what the court held with in context of the case. So for example, in post, here we have an explanatory parenthetical. It says post, comma, space, 147, space, opening parentheses, finding that woman was an invitee of home, even though she was not in the home as part of it, even though she was in the home as a part of a tour and not personally invited to be in the home by the homeowner. Close parenthetical, period. That's how you will use parenthetical explanations for this assignment. If you want to try it, you can. I encourage you to. I am not going to mark off if you use a parenthetical improperly for this assignment. I want you to try, but I will note what you did wrong so that you can learn how to use them. And I think that that's all, folks. I will see you next time.